Our statuses and roles. These terms are different in sociology than what you're probably used to. It's not uncommon for students to mix up the term status and role. Our status in sociology is like a position that we carry, okay? An identity maybe, or a title that we have. It doesn't, while you can associate like on the social ladder, higher statuses and lower, they're all statuses. So you hold statuses. I, for myself, am a mother, a teacher, a wife, a sister, a daughter. You could throw in things if you have hobbies. I'm a reader. I need more hobbies other than teaching, and I read. I like to travel. I'm a traveler. I'm a, researcher, whatever. Those are statuses that we hold. The roles are the behaviors expected that fall under each one of those statuses. So as a mother, I am expected to discipline, comfort, nurture, provide, so on and so forth. As a teacher, I am expected to grade papers, be knowledgeable, show up to meetings, so on and so forth. Now, there are what are called role conflict and role strain that are also easy to confuse. Role conflict is when there is conflict between the roles associated with two or more statuses. Okay, so think of conflict. Conflict typically has to be within two. You can have inner conflict, but anyway, two or more statuses, okay? So I just use the example of my status of a mother and my status of a teacher. Role conflict would be when the expectations associated with those conflict with one another. As a mother, I'm supposed to discipline, provide, spend time with. As a teacher, I'm supposed to work, grade, be available to students. Can I do both of those things at the same time? No, not effectively. So that is where that conflict comes in. And I'm using the example of me as a female and a mother and a employee, essentially. Women tend to have more conflict between those two statuses than fathers do, because our expectations within the home are greater normally. Societally, they are definitely greater, whereas men's expectation is greater with their status as an employee. We'll get more into that when we get into our chapter on gender and family. So that's role conflict. Role strain is when there is conflict amongst the roles connected to one status. Like as a mother, I'm supposed to discipline and nurture my children. You've probably been in a situation yourself, if you have children, where disciplining and nurturing, it's hard to know which to do sometimes, and which one comes first. For example, this just popped into my head. Right before the pandemic, when I was at the park with my two youngest children, and my son, we had to cross up the parking lot to get to my car, and my 3-year-old, let go of my hand, ran, in the street, in the parking lot. There were no cars coming, but obviously I chased after him, which meant I had to decide to either let my 4-year-old go or drag her along with me. I got to my 3-year-old and grabbed him, because I was scared. He could have just been hit by a car, and he was scared. I could tell when he turned around and looked at me that he had fear on his face. Well, if your child is scared, it's usually your responsibility to nurture them. But I also wanted to discipline him, to teach him that you cannot run in the street, right? And so there we are. Which of those things do you do right in that moment? And students, I have never used that example before specifically, but with the example of discipline nurture, I've heard students say, well, you spank them first and then you nurture them. It doesn't matter, the opinions about which should come first. The point is that there is a struggle between what I'm supposed to do as a mother. Even as a mother, I'm supposed to spend time with my kids, but also prepare meals. I can't do both at the same time. That would be a role strain. And then lastly, your master status is the status that either you most associate with or the status that you think other people most associate with you. So for me, what is my most important status? Depends on the day, right? And depends on who I ask. To my kids, definitely mother. To you all, probably teacher. Okay, so your master status can also be something that is negative. For example, if you are I shouldn't say negative, something that's perceived as negative. If you've been to prison convicted of a felony and you have the status of felon, that may be something that others see about you as like top before they see anything else. If, what would be another good example? So if you have, maybe if you're someone who has, this is not really negative, but like, think of the things that you identify people with. If you say, that girl that lives, if you're trying to tell someone a story about someone that lives upstairs from you, and you're like, I was talking to that girl upstairs, the one with pink hair. And the girl with pink hair, if you dye your hair pink, people might have expectations about the behaviors and that come along with that status of girl with pink hair, So that's kind of what master status is. I feel like those were terrible examples, but I hope that makes sense. Okay, that's 7 minutes. I'm going to stop there. I feel like I just spent 7 minutes talking all about myself, but I hope it helped.